once again, thanks for chatting to us about all things church planning. Now, one of the big questions we have, particularly in the year in which everybody's thinking about ANZAC Day, it's our 100th year celebration of, or commemoration, if you like, of the landing at Gallipoli. What place are these sort of big cultural events? What place do they have in the church planning life? How can we use them? Or are they really something that's a distraction? What do you think?
Yeah, well, interesting you mentioned the ANZAC Day thing. At one level you don't want to use it. You want to pay respect and be together with others, giving thanks for people who have sacrificed their lives and so on. So there's a level at which some of these events are not to be used. They're just who we are. We seek to honour and so on. So, but at another level, of course, ANZAC Day is an indicator of what Australia is. It says something about Australia and our culture. But so do other cultural events too. I mean, it's not just ANZAC Day. It's the NRL. I mean, that's a cultural event. You know, the state of origin, the cultural events. It's interesting. We do often run to the high culture. You know, the more sophisticated culture, something like this. But the Festival of the Whale. Do you mean that's a cultural event? It's not an Australian cultural event, but it's a subculture event, and all of these things are windows into, for us who want to reach people, they're windows into reaching people. Yeah. Who are these people we're seeking to reach? So yeah, they have a place. I guess gee, three things that have a place. So it helps me understand who it is I'm seeking to reach. Helps me get alongside them, and helps me know better how to speak into that world. There's a few thoughts. But interestingly too, I mean, for me, you know, I grew up in a cultural event. It was the beach. You know, it was kind of like the surf world is a culture. It's an event. It's an experience. So I've spent so long immersed in that world. You know, I only need to drive past it now just to get a reminder of that culture and get a taste of it again. So ANZAC Day for me is not kind of the big event for me to go to. If I was from another country coming to Australia and I was wanting to understand and get alongside and so on, I'd want to pay attention to those things. There are some limitations, I think. So ANZAC Day, pick that one. It really is only a small window into the Australian psyche. You know, it's you know, I can only gain so much insight from seeing those things. The NRL, you know, I'd go to the grand final or go to a soccer game. Or, you know, what is that? You know, I mean, that's just revealing my culture. Yeah, the football. These things are small windows, but they're only small windows, and so there are limitations with my ability to understand and then get alongside of, so that I might get some insight. But to be a person who can really walk with someone who is of that world and culture, the Festival of the Whale is a classic, so that I can go along and I can see what that subculture of Australia is like to some degree. But for me to be able to get alongside them and be who they are and walk with them, it really is very difficult for me to do that. Because a hipster, you know, that's a cultural community, a subculture. I bring too much of my cultural baggage to be able to engage effectively into that. I need to find the ones who are closer in. There's limitations to it. I think there's another little warning for mine. I think you need to do these things with much respect and affection. So if I'm going to be involved in cultural events to understand and get alongside, I need to do it with respect and affection for the best of that I'm seeing in those cultural events. So it is too easy to become pretentious above and look down on and critique and dismiss. But is it C.S. Lewis has that insight that a lot of things that we pursue in our cultures are actually, they arise from deep longings within us, and to see in any particular cultural expression those deep longings is important. So affection and respect for its incarnation, it's Jesus becomes one with us. Wow, that is an expression of real love. The last thing I'd say is you want to cut there? I've just completely...
That's all right. I can do if you just pick up from the third thing, if you want to look at it.
No, I don't want to look at my notes.
Can I throw a question in and then we'll come back to the third?
Yeah.
Okay. So awareness is one of the key factors, but not overstating the importance or making it everything. I guess on a practical level, you're at least saying if you're parachuting in, go visit your local tourism office and know exactly what the key cultural events are for that community in that area.
Yeah, yeah. If you're from outside that subculture, then of course you want to find all the kinds of ways to know and understand and get under the skin of the people I'm connecting to.
I'm kind of interested though that you said that there's some cultures you can't see that you could actually get inside of, and you said just in passing, I need to find those people who can. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've spent my life in books now. So I grew up in that a certain world, which is the knockabout, hedonistic, do what you want to do beach world. And I grew up in that world, but I've now spent 25 years pursuing disciplined, rigorous thought, academic study and analysis. Do you know, I just subtly say and do things that are now disconnected from that culture. The words I think to use that I never would have thought to use. It's just that my humour's shifted. All kinds of things change.
And not just because you've become a dad.
Yeah, now I'm just exhausted because I'm a dad. But yeah, there's all kinds of things that are really quite profoundly different about who I am that are subtle. The way I see the New Age movement, the way I think about the Festival of the Whale. It's just it comes from a different place. Whereas if I'm going to reach those people, I've got to be aware of my own limitations now, which is the expression of limitations, and find those that are still close enough into it that they see the positives in a way that I can't. They speak the words that I wouldn't. They have the joke that I would. They dress the way that all that is absolutely critical for me to be aware. It's Hudson Taylor, isn't it? It's kind of, there's only so much a European can immerse themselves into a different culture. He needed to actually find the converts from that culture, capture them to the gospel, to have them go back into that world, much closer to it.
But if I can jump in, the principle, whether it be you or whether it's the person you're talking about, is to remember that there's an incarnational value of these things, that the best things that might rise out of these cultural events really are just, what do you say, refractions or reflections of God's character.
Yeah, I think there's a third thing I'd want to pick up on is there are deeper structures to humankind that transcend culture, subculture. So that, and there's where we need to be immersed in the scriptures. So, it's Calvin's wonderful insight about, I know myself when I know God better, and I know God better when I know myself. It's that interplay between those things. And so ultimately the way I serve whatever culture or subculture I'm engaged in, ultimately the way I serve them best is to know God best, so know myself and know humankind in its deepest structures. What are the yearnings of the human heart? How has depravity impacted the humankind? And where do those things express themselves? So I'm more attuned to seeing them in these cultural artifacts, these events. So I can discern more readily not just the deep yearning of the image of God that's still there, but also the perversion of the fall that's there. And I can pick all these things up, but do it from a context of a heart of God who loves his world, the fallen world, the rebellious world. And so do it with some affection and warmth towards those people I'm seeking to reach, and not as the pretentious over them and seeing what they can't see. And bang.